Mi nombre es Albert Naugle Gudiño. Me crié entre Visalia, California y el pueblo de San Francisco de Olivenza, en Extremadura. He dedicado mi vida al deporte y a comprender cómo funciona la mente y el cuerpo humano. Durante los últimos 5 años compitiendo en CrossFit he tenido la oportunidad de participar en eventos importantes, vivir momentos mágicos. Ahora, como entrenador y atleta máster, busco el equilibrio entre el rendimiento y la salud para ayudar a mis atletas a conseguir sus objetivos. Guiado por esta idea, he decidido emprender un viaje en busca de los mejores entrenadores y atletas del mundo para absorber sus métodos y conocer sus entornos.
Son las 5 de la mañana y nos vamos al aeropuerto. Mira que soy de madrugar, pero incluso esto es temprano para mí. ¿A dónde iremos? Ya hemos llegado a Barajas. Vamos a intentar pasar seguridad, a ver si no nos da muchos problemas, que está Madrid cerrado.
Comienzo mi búsqueda en un lugar muy especial. Conecté con John Singleton of the Progrm en los Taronja Games y no podía perder la oportunidad de entrenar con él y sus atletas. Me enamoré de Mallorca desde la primera vez que visité la isla. Con sus calas y montañas, para mí es todo un paraíso. John lleva muchos años entrenando la élite de CrossFit. Atletas como Sarah Sigmundsdottir, Sam Briggs, Lucas Esslinger y Bjørn Carl Gudmundsen han pasado por sus manos. Había quedado con John más tarde, pero no podía perder la oportunidad de vivir mi momento favorito de cada día en este lugar. Estamos aquí en C23 CrossFit, vamos a entrenar con el equipo de John Singleton de The Progrm, atletas de Games, atletas top, a ver qué tienen para mí hoy. Los atletas que entrenan con él en Mallorca ahora no son nada menos que atletas de Games, fites en su país y ganadores de Sanctions. Me uno a ellos un sábado para conocerles y conocer The Mash.
Thanks for having us. It's a pleasure for us to come and talk to you. First things first, did you watch the games?
Yes, we have, yeah.
How was that experience? What did you think about it?
I'm a fan of the sport, so it is fun to watch others doing the open past regionals or sanctionals on their games, of course. So you get that fan perspective of just appreciating what the best in the world are doing. And then, well, I wouldn't say bitterness, but there is, to a certain degree, a little bit of jealousy. Right. And then the desire to compete there as well. So it's sort of like mixed emotions, but all in all, it's always a pleasure to see the games, and we were very happy that it was happening.
It was strange watching with only 5 athletes. It was like I said, it was like something was missing in a way.
It was hard because basically all of us, like a lot of people should be there.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of like take it from us because of the changes and cutting and stuff like this. So instead of having only one qualifiers, open and like sanctional season, we had another qualifiers at the end, like the online stage 1.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just hard to watch and not being there.
You're the fittest in your country. You also top 20 in the Open, and you won a sanctioned event.
Yeah,
So
that's
you,
right.
there was like, I'm going to the games one way or another,
Yeah,
right?
I
And
was
so,
kind of safe with this.
right. So like not being in the final after all that hard work, not just from a training perspective, but a winning perspective, right? Like you win your country, you win the Open, so to speak, because you made it in the top 20. And then a sanction on top of that, which is probably, in my opinion, one of the hardest things to do, is actually win an in-person event. I think that's a great sort of season in my opinion, even though you weren't at the final stage of the games. That's amazing. So I have to definitely applaud your performance. Are you already planning towards that? Is that something that's already in your mind and you're sort of day to day going, okay, I've got 100 days, or I've got 3 months, or whatever it is, to the Open. Is that where your mind is at right now?
Oh, like definitely. I was so hungry after the first stage of CrossFit Games that basically it was just not even full 2 weeks break. It was just more for like mindset and fresh start.
Honestly, the goal would be to try to push for top 20 in the Open. And it's a bit of a, because the Open is so different, you never know what kind of workouts you're going to get. There's so many people, the margins are so small. But at the end of the day, I'm like, I am going to push. I'm going to try to be in as good shape as I can to try to fight for that top 20.
It's not just me. I think it's everyone. We just want a system that is consistent and it stays.
Right.
Because the problem with the constant change is that you don't know what you have to do to get there.
What's the most valuable thing that you get from your coach?
Give me confidence when I need it. And I'm that kind of athlete who really need it.
For me, I think the most valuable thing with having John, he also has a background as an osteopath. So now when you have niggles, like when is it okay to push, when should I back off? That kind of things is for me very valuable to like have someone that I can just discuss with. Like,
Well, it's a hard question. Look, in general, what I learned through doing CrossFit for now, it's like coming up in 8 years, is that it is hard to find a good coach, right? Today, everyone is a coach. Everyone has their online training program. And at the end of the day, it comes down to a couple of things. One of them is trust. Now I can say that John is not just a very dear friend, also a coach, and also my employer, my boss. So it is a constant sort of like juggling, juggling the relationships. But he's been nothing but good to me in all sense. It is actually when I walked through the doors of C23, I just felt like, okay, wow, like it sounds like a cliche that I am home, but I have felt this since the first day I've come in here.
Felt good,
yeah, it's just like everyone from the owners to the members, very welcoming, and it is in some ways the best part of my day to come through the door and just. I'm happy to spend time here.
Awesome, man. It was a pleasure.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you for
thank you
for your time.
No, thank you.
no worries. Thank you guys for coming. Do I do anything with this now?
Thank you.
Thank you.
First of all, thank you very much for having us. It's been a fun day. Fun now that it's over, but it's been a great experience with the whole situation, COVID, all this stuff. from a coaching perspective, how difficult has that been, trying to make sure that your athletes are in shape, making sure that they're ready for whatever it is that might be coming up?
It's always hard, you know, like I think most people like to have that kind of sense of control, even though you may not have it, and with all this uncertainty, it obviously creates a lot of stress. It was tough position. Like, we had to deal with a lot of emotions. So we had athletes qualify who then had their places taken away, and ultimately, you know, it's very hard for the athletes to then maintain the motivation. They were then looking at competitions, which then got cancelled.
So you've been in the game for a long time, very long time. Sarah, just a bunch of big name athletes. Do you think that the Open and getting your ticket through the Open, is that a good test? Or did you prefer the regional format, or, you know? So
personally, I'm all about like live competition. I don't like online formats. I think it's just impossible to make it a level playing field. And for me, the reason why, you know, I'm still in the sport, the reason why I coach is the live competition. And so, you know, we will adapt. We will try to do our best on the online formats, because that's kind of the position we're forced into. But no, I don't particularly like the Open. I think it's a bit too long. Like 5 weeks it's tough. It's a long time.
We could cut it down, right? Like 5 WODs is not that much.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I'd love to see a reduced time frame of the Open.
Is the fittest person, or the games athlete, is that person now training only CrossFit from an early age? Or are we still going to be able to see somebody who comes out of other sports and sort of develop into a CrossFit athlete? Or is it necessary, sort of like the Medeiros, you know, example that we had at the games, where, you know, he's been doing CrossFit since he was 12, 13 years old, maybe not dedicated, but he already had, you know, that contact with it and the developing his systems. So is that fittest person, or let's just say group of fittest people, are they now solely CrossFit athletes?
I don't actually think so. Certain things help, like if you haven't maintained squat mobility, if you haven't been exposed to some form of technical progress, be that through weightlifting or gymnastics, and if you don't have those, I think it's a lot harder to adapt. But this being said, I still think you can come in at late teens, early 20s, and if you have that potential, still do very well in the sport.
The mash. Just tell me the mash. How did you come up with the mash? And it seems to be the recurring thing on Saturdays.
We do have certain structures and principles that we follow through the program, and Saturday kind of becomes our competition replica day, where it's like, you know, okay, we're going to be putting in a bunch of movements. We're going to be doing them, you know, in uncomfortable ways, and there's kind of this element of like suffering through it together. It typically tends to be longer with a variation of movements, and it's kind of that competition stimulus of your week.
I almost died.
Yeah.
I literally thought I was not going to finish. So
the mash is really bad for my ego right now. So.
John, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very, very much for your time. I know it's very valuable, and hopefully it's not the last time I come and bother you.
No, well, thank you guys for coming out.
Thanks.
Me han reventado, literal. O sea, ha sido un WOD súper duro para mí. En las primeras 2 rondas de burpees y thrusters parecía que me iba a morir. La tercera ronda ya cogí un poco de aire y me encontré un poquito más capaz, pero la primera parte de handstand walk y los lunge me dejó reventado para después hacer burpees y thrusters. 1 hora de WOD, varios minutos por ahí de descanso, pero la verdad que pareció nada. Me voy ahora, vamos a encontrar algo de comer que no hemos comido en todo el día y disfrutar un poquito de Mallorca.
El entrenamiento de hoy, 1 hora y 2 minutos, 893 calorías, 192 de máxima de pulsaciones en algún momento, madre mía. Estímulo aeróbico y anaeróbico, por tantos intervalos y demás. Vaya paliza.
Como dijo Christoph, es difícil encontrar un buen entrenador. Un entrenador que es capaz de avivar el fuego interno cuando las cosas no salen como uno planeaba. El CrossFit Elite está impulsado por la pasión que no se detiene ante cambios inesperados o pandemias mundiales.